Let's make an amp site. We're going to start from the very beginning. It'll be kind of like a review for you in creating a regular responsive site. And then we'll add the different amp items. Okay, let's begin. We'll just call this, I don't know, amp. Yeah, no, we'll just call it amp. Okay, and the path to our header, img/header.jpg. That means that there, in my root directory, there's a directory called img image, and inside that image directory is the header. And it's going to be 1280 by 240. It'll be the one we used in the last exercises. We'll pick the different sizes for our responsive design. We'll pick them all. Why not? What the heck? It's not that hard. As you can see, it's already branding here, and so we have our beautiful, beautiful CSS. So let's just grab this, copy it, go to our editor, paste it in. Remember, it tells you what you need to call this style sheet. Now in AMP, you can't have an external style sheet, so in the end we're going to have to move all these styles into the custom AMP style area in the head of our index. Okay, but we'll start out anyways. So let's save it. We'll save it as amp.css in our root folder. And we completed that quite easily. Let's get our start page, copy it, paste it where we need to on a new document. We'll save it as index.html. I'm already thinking something else. All right, now let's create our site. Let's see. We'll create the site row by row. We'll start out with a header. It'll be 12 columns, and this time we're going to put an amp header. Yes, we'll put an amp header. Okay, so that's that. Then we'll do our second row, which will be our nav. That also will go across 12 columns, or 100%. Then we'll do our little section. That'll be 8 columns to begin with, and then our right bar will be 4. That's not 4. There we go. There's 4, and then we'll do, I don't know, we'll do the notes, and we'll have 4 of those. These will be our lightbox gallery. I'll show you how to do amp lightbox galleries. And so these would be what? You tell me. Wait a minute, you can't tell me. 3, 3, 3, and 3. You can see right up here it has to equal 12, and it could be less, but keep an eye on that. And then we'll put some video in a slideshow. Video, and we'll make them, I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, let's do 4. And then we'll do an accordion. And that'll be 4. And we can do a slideshow. Might as well keep the case consistent. Okay, so video, accordion, and slideshow. And then we'll do our footer. Okay. Now that we have our HTML, we just grab all of that, put it in the wrapper, take our structural CSS, which gives us all the floats where they are needed. It also writes out the script for the header and the nav and the footer, the nav and the header. Although there's no rules in there right now, we'll have them there in case we need them. All right, now it says amp CSS. In amp CSS, around line 67, look for this, and we'll paste this there. So let's go to our beautiful CSS, our amp CSS. Look for around line 67. Paste structural CSS here, and that gives us all of our flows. Now, I know you want to see how it looks, and the header is not going to be there yet because it's an amp header and it's an amp image, and so you have to have a special JavaScript on the project amp. So there it is, but we still can see that we have our structure in place and it is responsive. Okay. And just for fun, we'll go back here and we'll get our design helper, because that puts the 12 columns so we can see what's going on, and we will remove this when we are done with our formatting of our page. This, of course, remember, this helps you. The grid will show you, the colored columns will show you that your things are lining up good. I'll just change this to red so that you can see them better on the screen. And this JavaScript is going to detect the screen width. So as you're changing the size of the fonts and the size of the buttons and everything else, you'll be able to tell which screen size you're looking at in the design process. But as it says, remove after the design process. Let's save that. And let us go, now that we have our beautiful site all set up. There it is. You can see our beautiful columns, our 12 columns. And you can see how each of these nested divs are 20 pixels apart. And you can see how they are maintained inside the columns. That's what you're really looking for here. As you can see, as the columns shrink, well, so do the nested divs until they get here, and then they go 100% across, and all the floats are taken off. And once again, at this point, if I hit refresh, I can see that my browser window is 348 pixels wide, and that's going to help in that design process. All right. So the first thing we should probably do is go down to the AMP. Now there are certain things that are involved with AMP. First thing you need to know is that there is a canonical website that is associated with this AMP site, and it is a non-AMP site. This is the main site. So we'll put that there. And I'm going to put a HTTPS because Moose Loose is HTTPS. Now what you see here is what's called, well, it's the whole header. You can see that it's going to replace the entire head of our AMP document. Things that you should look for here is a little indicator that shows that it tells the browser that looky here, we're going to have an AMP thing going on. Here's our canonical website. This right here, this is called the boilerplate. There is a lot of CSS and all kinds of things that are necessary for an AMP site. Remember I told you there can't be an external style sheet? All the styles that will make this page work has to be embedded in this style AMP custom. So we're going to be, in the end, we're going to take whatever is in our AMP CSS and paste it in here. They have to be embedded. There can be no external style sheets. Here's another script library that goes to the AMP project. You have to have that to make all this work. And for now, we have a link to our style sheet, and that's also only for design purposes, because as you know, there can be no external style sheet. But this will help us as we're putting the thing together. So let's just grab this whole head and go to our HTML. Look for the head tag. Here it is, right here. And we're going to paste that in. So that's the boilerplate and the various things in the header that you need. So let's save that. You know, I wonder if our header will show up. Oh, it does, because this is an amp image now. Let's take a look at that really closely. Here is the amp image. Notice it isn't an amp. Notice that it isn't a regular image tag. It's an amp image tag. And when you have an amp image, you have to have a height and a width. That's because as your page is loading, this particular script will put a placeholder for the header or for any image that has this layout. That means that when the page is loading, your text won't be jumping all over the place as your images are loading, because there will be a height 240, and it's going to hold that place until the image loads. That gives the people the opportunity to see the content as the image is loading, and as they're reading the content, it isn't jumping all over the place as the images are loading. So that, my friends, is a very, very important feature in AMP, the ability to see the content without it jumping all over the place. All right, so there it is. We have our image, our header image in place. And so let's begin by, I don't know, let's put our hamburger in. Our content for the class AMP12 goes here. Notice it's in its own nested div. That's going to give you the ability to move it around where it needs to be per media screen, because this R is probably going to shrink and move over, and you might need to put it somewhere else. Okay, so let's do that first. So let's go to AMP, and we can go down to the AMP navigation. And here we go. Every time we put a feature in, or what they call a component, there is a JavaScript library on the AMP project site. And so because we're going to be putting this in we're going to be using the sidebar, we have to get the JavaScript library from the AMP project. So let's copy that. And from now on, I'm going to put them right underneath the title, right there. It has to be in the head. Next, we're going to grab the CSS for our flyout and our toggle button. So I'm going to grab this, and guess where we're going to put it? We're going to put it into AMP CSS. Oh no, because any kind of CSS has to be in that AMP custom. So we'll just replace that H1 color red. There it is. So now all of that, and I'll separate it just so you can see. But remember, it's a good idea to remove those spaces. It saves a little bit of time. Okay, so I'll just separate it so that you can see it a little bit better. And so at this point, you can see the background color of the flyout, and you'll be able to change the color of the toggle, which is the button at the top. Okay, so that's the CSS for that. So we put our JavaScript library for the button, and we put the CSS for the styling of that flyout there. All right, now this is the actual button bar. As you can see, I already have some buttons there that you can switch out as you need to. So, and we covered this in the last series. So there it is. Let's go to our HTML, and we can put this right at the bottom of the page. That's right, right before the closing body. Now, if we did this right, and I saved it, let's go to our site and see if we have that button there. Oops. Oh, maybe I didn't put the button there. Yeah, I didn't put the button. I was talking. All right, so let's go get the button. Okay, here's our nav button. It's the code in blue. And let's put it up. Let's put it up in the header where it says content for amp12 ID header goes here. As you can see, it's in that nested portion inside the head. Right there. I'll separate so you can see it. And so it's going to be in the nested portion. So let me save this. And this time, please button be there. And it is. And you can see our button bar already works. It's absolutely lovely. At this point, it's going to be how people navigate when it is on the phone. Okay. So there it is. There is our beautiful, beautiful navigation button. Okay, what else should we do? Let's get some content in here. Let's go get some dummy text. Just so you can see how that works, I'm just going to grab a small portion of it. Don't need the whole thing, unless you're styling it, you know, as you go along. So let's find it. Let's find where the section is. Aha! Here's the comment that says this begins the row that contains section and right bar. Here's the section. Here's the right bar, and this is where the row containing the section and the right bar ends. So here's the section. Let's see, content. Here it is. Content for AMP8 ID section goes here. So let's just paste that in. And we can take a look at it, make sure. You know what, I like to, every time I make a change, I like to test it just to make sure things are going all right. And there it is. So our text takes up 8 columns, saving our AMP right bar goes here. There we have it. Yeah, there we have it. It's beautiful. Notice how the type, the P tags, and the H1s and the strongs, they respond to the width of the screen. And as you can see, if I hit refresh and I go down, I can see the width that this is now at 897. So that's between 768 and 960. So that if I wanted to style it at this point, that's where I would go in my CSS. Okay. So let's put an image in. Let's go to our AMP section and let's get an image. Let's do the AMP image. And all we have to do is put the path in, img / and I made a bunch of the same graphics that we used in the last one. So it's creating the path to that image. And remember, when you have an image, you always have to put the width. Now, what's funny about this, and maybe I don't get it, but even though this image is going to be responsive, we need to put a width and a height. Now, what's odd about this is that it's not really going to be at 400 by 300. It's going to be responsive, so it's going to fit 100% inside whatever div we put it in. But if we don't put the right proportions that the original graphic is in, when it shows up like in a light box, it's going to be out of proportion. Okay, so that's pretty important. Okay, so let's grab, once again, the red portion goes in the header. Notice that here's the AMP image light. This takes the place of image and the light box. Okay, so we'll be doing the light box later. But remember, anytime we use an AMP component, we have to grab the external style sheet. So let's go up and we can put it right here with the other one that we have for the sidebar. Okay, so once again, it goes into the AMP project, grabs the JavaScript library, and that's what you can use. Generally speaking, well, not generally, in AMP you cannot have any external JavaScript libraries they all have, if you're going to have this JavaScript library, it has to be on the AMP project. That's because it's slimmed down and it doesn't take a long time to load like a lot of JavaScript libraries do. All right, so let's save that. Let's go and finish this off. Let's do an alt. It's always good for screen readers. I don't remember what this graphic is. This is all about me. All right, and the figure caption is what goes underneath the photo, and I'll just put it like Gary Farmer of your because it's an old picture of me, I think. Then if I want to style it, I'll put a class, and I'll put this as, I don't know, first image. It doesn't matter. It'll create that. Yeah, and we'll forget the style for now. All right, so here it is. Here's the image. You'll notice what it's doing here is creating that image with a figure caption. So it all goes through the figure. We'll probably take that off, but for now, let's copy that and paste it in our, let's paste it in our right bar. So let's look real closely. Here's the row ending nav. Okay, here's the row starting the row with section and right bar. And here it is. ID right bar. Content goes here. We'll just paste that in, and when we save it and go look at our image, hopefully it's there, and there it is. Now you see that it has the caption, but oddly, when you have that figure, it also puts some padding around it, which personally I don't like. I'd rather not have that caption and have the image go around. But if you want that padding around the image, that's what you can do. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back and I'm just going to take it out of that figure. Okay, let's just forget this figure. And let's just leave the image in there. I'll move this down so you can see it better. Okay, so you can see that we have our image inside our nested. Make sure it's in the nested because that's what gives that 10 pixel margin. So here we go. There, that's better. I like that better. I hope you do, but it doesn't matter because you can't tell me anyway. All right, so let's go back to the responsive. So that's how you do the image. Now let's do a slider. We'll just do the next one. We'll put a slider in. How high is it? Well, it's 300 and it's 400 wide. We'll do one graphic, img /002.jpg. I'll just copy that because I'm a lazy guy, and I'll just switch it out. 3 and 4. I could put a class on it. I'll just put sliding. That's okay. And then for our alt, we'll put my slideshow. Do you like it? Okay. And then remember, now that we have this, we are going to put our carousel external JavaScript library in the header. Remember, we always have to load that external style sheet. So let's go to the top. I'm just going to put it right after the title. There's that. I'm going to go back and get my carousel. There we go. Our editor. And where are we going to put this? Oh, I think we created a div with the slider. There's the notes. Okay, here's the row containing video, accordion, slideshow, so we're close. And video, accordion, and slideshow. Let's put it in there and see what happens. Okay. So now that we have our script in the header, and now we have our slideshow component inside the slider. We'll take a look, see. Let's take a look at the slider. And there it is. And you can see by default it starts sliding through. And because it's a slider, and it has these arrows, we can click them and go through the different slides. Notice again, because it's responsive, remember everything is supposed to be about the phone here. And so you can see it is responsive, and then when it gets down to the phone size, it stretches out 100%. That's why, if we look closely at the code, we'll see that there is this layout responsive right there. And so that's what makes it so that it grows and shrinks according to the media screen. Okay, this is coming along pretty good. So why don't we do something else? Why don't we put in a light box? So we'll get our light box, and we could put an ID on our light box, and I'm going to call it amp light. Okay, a path to the image, img slash 00. Yeah, we do 4. Who cares? jpg. The alt will be another photo, and we could have a title to it. We're gonna yeah, we should maybe do a title, and we could use it. We could use the same one on other photos. That's wrong. Copy this, and the alt and the title can be the same. Our width. Remember why we put the width in, and we put the height in so that it loads. And we'll forget that caption and the div ID. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is look. We have to put this in the header. But because we've already used the image, we use this on an image, we don't need to do that. It's already there because the JavaScript that loads the image and which loads the light box is the same JavaScript library on the AMP project org website. So we don't have to put it in again. So let's go back and get the code to our beautiful light box. Now here's a light box. This is very interesting. You have the name of the light box. Remember we called it the light box ID? Even if you have a whole bunch of other light boxes, you can use this amp light box code right here over and over again if you want. So let's go ahead and grab this. I'm going to put it right after the opening body. Right here, right after the opening body. There it is. And now I can take this code for my lightbox gallery, and where did I put? Oh, we're going to put those in the notes. So let's go down and find the notes. Here we go. Here's notes 1, and we can paste that in there. And you know what? As long as we're here, why don't we just go ahead and put those in, and we can change the image. So we'll go back to 1. Here's notes 3. Let's put another light box in there, and we'll do a 2 for our image, and 1 more. I hope that's not throwing you. All I'm doing is change, because all my images are the same size, I'm just going to change the number. So I have 3, 2, 1, and 4. Alright, so now the important thing that you should note about this is that there is this roll button index 0. And what that does is when you are on a phone, you click on that It's basically the little touch poke thing that when you do that, the image is going to grow. So let's go ahead and take a look how our beautiful Lightbox gallery is working. Let's refresh. We'll go down to the images. There they are. And what makes them a Lightbox instead of just a regular old image is when you click on them, they grow and take up the whole screen so that you can see what exactly is going on. So you're able to zoom in. And that's what makes a Lightbox gallery. You could have a whole row of them. You could have thumbnails, and it'll all work. And remember, it's working. All of these are working off of this original. Where is it? Right after the opening, or yeah, right after the opening body. Here is our Lightbox. So the things that you need for the Lightbox is a script in the header. You need this Lightbox code. And then, of course, you need your images. And the images, once again, have that height and width so that these will be loading after the content. Okay, so that's what makes that. Now let me just show you something really interesting. Because we have this Lightbox gallery thing going on here, wouldn't it be great if we could click on slider and have the different sliders grow big too? Well, you can. And the way you do that is you go back to your slider. I believe this is where I put it. You go back to the slider, and at the bottom it says if you have a Lightbox coded, you can add this to the image for the Lightbox effect. So if I wanted to add a Lightbox to my slider, all I have to do is grab that, because look, it's taking advantage of that Lightbox code that we created for our Lightbox photos. And this turns those graphics in the slider into buttons. So I'm just going to grab that, and I'm going to go to my notes 1, and right after, oh no, the notes 1 is the graphic. So we're going to go down to our slider. Where is that slider? Amp accordion. Here it is. Here it is right here. So here is our slider, and here's our first image right here. Here's our first image. There's our second image in our slider, and there it is. Nice. All right, so what I'm going to do is right after the image, the JPEG line, I'm going to paste it. That creates our button, and it applies the Lightbox to those images as well. There we go. So I'm going to hit save. When we go and reload our AMP page, we'll see our slider. And now we can scroll through our slides, and if we see one we like, we can click on it. And now our slider is a Lightbox gallery too. So what we did so far is we put the slider in, the sliding sidebar. We did our image, just regular image. We did our Lightbox. We did our slider, our carousel is what they call it, and it works beautifully. And we put a Lightbox button on it so that it will shrink and grow when we click. And there we are so far.